argument in our heads. We hear two voices at once, our own voice and the other person's. We can also notice the other person's accent and the way he's taunting us. What voice is that? And how can we hear every word clearly without saying a word? As it turns out, the brain undergoes similar processes when you're thinking words as when you're speaking out loud. Outside in nature, relaxed, and with our hearts open, we should quickly feel this all-bonding, all-unifying energy. And we may even hear the sound of the universal Om, or some other music of the spheres. It is supposedly energy responding to the heart, influencing even the heartbeat. The perceived presence of this vibrational, spiritual, electric energy is accelerating and becoming more accessible to those open to experiencing it. The first dimension is height, the second dimension is width, and the third dimension is depth. In contrast, the fourth dimension is time. The fourth one being more from relativistic physics, as Einstein had proved that time is not linear and can be manipulated as well. You can effortlessly observe all these four dimensions in action whenever and wherever you want. The first three dimensions can be observed simply by looking at an object or measuring it to be precise about the amount of height, width, and depth it sports. The fourth dimension can also easily be observed if an object moves in front of our eyes. The fifth dimension's energy presence accelerates at an ever faster speed, accessing more receivers. Lawrence Chris Parker, also known as KRS-One, is an American rapper, lyricist, and producer who breaks down the fifth dimension. He explains the inner man and shows how essentially you are a spirit. He tried to share his discoveries decades before most people even began to look into the esoteric realm and share access to ancient knowledge.
How can you hear yourself say rock star and no vibration of sound has happened? See, this puts a different perspective on what sound actually is. And what memory is. Memory's not in the brain, memory's in the soul.
Chris refers to our internal dialogue as the voice inside our head. He means that our internal monologue results from specific brain mechanisms that cause you to hear yourself talk in your head without actually speaking and forming sounds. Internal monologue is a common occurrence. It's a thought that develops during childhood, and we begin talking to ourselves. The inner speech continues to support working memory with other cognitive processes. It began with Einstein's theory.
Light travels from the sun to the earth through space, yes? When I was your age, I wanted to know, how can something light travel through nothing, space?
Einstein tried to prove that absolute frames of reference do not exist in space, because an entity's velocity is only measurable if compared to something else, and the speed of light is a constant, regardless of the speed of the person who measures it. To prove his point, Einstein introduced the concept of the fourth dimension, space-time, and expressed his theory in the mathematical equation E equals mc squared. The existence of a fourth dimension opened up the doors 100 years later. Still, to this date, scientists do not agree on the number of dimensions that exist. Some of them say 6, some others say 10, and some more say into infinity. The first attempt to incorporate the fifth dimension, tying it up to the concept of electromagnetism, was made by Einstein himself and his assistants Valentine Bergman and Peter Bergman, who were really determined to find another dimension to justify the existence of the fourth one. In his theory of relativity, he suggested that space-time can bend, and large objects like Earth perceive this distortion as gravity. He also introduced the concept of gravitational waves, which are basically ripples in space and time, created by violent, energetic processes in the universe traveling at the speed of light, which was proved and confirmed in 2015.
What was the voice that spoke, and then you heard yourself speaking? But these ears did not hear you say anything because your mouth didn't move. So the ears didn't hear it, the mouth did not move, but you spoke and you heard yourself speaking.
Inner speech has been shown to vary in form along several dimensions. Along with condensation, condensed inner speech forms are supposed to be deprived of acoustic and even syntactic qualities. Inner speech can be monologal, when we engage in internal dialogue and recall past conversations and imagine future dialogues involving our own voice. Earlier studies have shown that the brain exhibits similar activity with inner speech to verbalized speech. When study participants are asked to deliberately speak inside their heads while lying in a magnetic resonance imaging (MRI) machine, scientists can see parts of the brain that auditory process information activate, as if the person actually heard the words. Cerebral regions activated during inner speech are quite similar to those activated during an overt speech, during real speech. Those regions include the left hemisphere frontal lobe and parietal lobe, which help process outward stimulation.
If you close your eyes, you can see this better. If you close your eyes and put this image in another sight, if you close your eyes, you can still see this. What is the sight that can see your future? These two eyes don't see the future. These two eyes don't see the past, yet you can see your past and you can see your future. You can actually see your past. What is the sight that can see beyond time?
The question Chris raised is whether we can perceive it also with our human eyes, or possibly feel it in our bodies and hearts. The main obstacle to easily tapping successfully into the energy of the fifth dimension